Hello, how's everybody doing? We're back again, okay? And now I guess this is D, Precision Part 2D. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna keep going right along. I already went over what we're gonna talk about. We're gonna keep up the conversation as we did before on the on the spaces, okay? A space is squared, okay? And that's squared, okay? So we should know what it is by now if you've been following along. We're going to talk about that. We're going to keep up the conversation. It's developing, so that's really great. There's another thing that I wanted to, so after we finish that, I guess we can get right into it, but I want to talk about virtual, the mind's virtual space. That's very important. And also speed. Remember speed? It's like when you see that, the motion, that's called speed. I mean, we already defined that vocabulary word, so I don't have to go into the explanation as far as that's concerned. So let's get back to the conversation about A, or A squared, or times, and remember, that's the subject, is the subject, and then is the times, okay? As many times as I said that's how many times the And I was thinking about, to make sure, I mean, it sounds strange now, but it's not really strange, because if you think about it, if I say, let me see. If I say, I love you, I love you, I love you, okay? Think about how many sounds that is, okay? I-L-O-V-E-Y-O-U, okay? That's, okay, we can speak in numbers because I'm trying to do this explanation. That's 8 sounds, okay? 8 different sounds. It could be the same sound, but it's 8 sounds. And it wasn't boring or anything. And I said it 8 times. I said it 3 times. So that was 3, that was 8 times 3. So that was 8, 8, 8. Remember, 8 is the subject, and then that's times 3, okay? Some people say, like I said, it's not 8, and then I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and keep that 8, and then times 8, and count that one again. You have to understand that. The nuances in the brain are very specific, very specific. So like I said, if I say, now I'm going to use numbers so that everybody can understand better what we do now. If I say 3 times 2 is different than 2 times 3, because we're talking about what we perceive, okay? So if I say 2 times 3, 2 is the subject, and then 3. So I'm going to put 2 in 2, 2, 2. So that's 2, 3 times. So 3, did I say 2? Okay, let's do it over again, because I gotta make sure that you get this point. So if I say 2 times 3, 2 is the subject, and I'm gonna do it 3 times. So it's 2, 2, 2. If I say, so it's gonna be from the top to the bottom, 2 at the top, 2 in the middle, and 2 at the bottom. It's very important. And if I say 3 times 2, 3 is the subject, and I'm going to do it 2 times. 3, 2 times. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's how it goes. I'm sorry. This is how it goes. You have to follow. So 2 times 3 and 3 times 3 are the same thing. I would even go far as to say 3 times 3 is different, because I'm going to say 3, this is the subject, 3 times. This is how the mind works. I'm saying the first time I said 3 is different from the second time I said 3. So if I say 3, subject, times 3, okay, so I'm using this 3 times. So that's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And if you think about it, I said 3 times, and that's over the amount of sounds that I use. Whereas I'm saying times faster. Okay, so times, which would be okay, and the sounds are just for conversation, that's all. And because we're talking about spaces, and remember, we're talking about spaces, we're not talking about anything else. We're going to keep it specific and continually focus on one thing, which is the space that we're working with on the floor plane. Okay? Okay. And another point I want to make is that there's no lines, really. Like when we were talking about the graph paper as an example, in the graph paper they have lines. But in Dance Without Music, those lines, it's not really any part. The only thing it is just something visual, okay? So when I say, now let's talk about so okay, times which would be, and we're just doing the spaces. And then once you have it, you drop those sounds and everything. It's just to show you how many times, okay? So we're gonna do it. Sounds funny now, but we'll get used to it. Not just that, but it's going to develop. I just know how it works. It's going to develop into something really beautiful. So I'm going to do it and perceive our squares, okay? Our squared. So we have So there, we have that. We have the locations of each one. Now we forget about the and just end up with the spaces. Remember, they don't really have lines. It's just another conversation piece. Is that it doesn't really have lines. Okay, it's just something that we use. Okay, we can imagine the lines, but pretty much it doesn't have any lines at this level. Maybe later on. Okay. So now let's get back into the conversation. You see how much easier it's going to be. There's one thing I want to state before we go into it too. Another developing point that we got from talking about the squares. Every square is 1. Every square is 1, or every square is 1 square. So that would mean that times is a square. And that would be okay? Squared is times So, and that's a sound so that we can talk about space. We could even say, since it's just we can say one space. We can say one space and another one space. One space and another one space is one space, which is 1 square. Okay? So one square, like we said, one squared space. We're pretty much saying it's a square just for the sake of it right now. So we're saying that's a square. Each square in the square is a square, is one. And the whole square, whenever you come up with a square, it's a one also. So let's go to our conversation about squared, okay? The space is squared. On the corner of each one, of each combination of all of them, of all of the spaces, there's a corner because it's a square. A square has 4 points. A square has points. At the top, and at the bottom. To symbol, or else we could say whichever sound, ba 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 ba. But I just use We might say e sometimes, but mostly I'm going to use But I don't want you to get used to just because it's going to change. It's going to change into something very beautiful. Okay, so we have 4 points. Okay, 4 points, and each one of those points are connected to one square of a space, like we resemble the graph paper. Okay, but each inside the so inside the squared, there's a squared. Squared. So you know, if I say squared, it's times okay, I mean which is the subject, times times which is is the subject, times. So we have okay, and I'm using but remember, when we're doing it ourselves, we don't have to say anything. We just perceive of the squared. Okay, so we have on one corner, we have one corner on this side, we have and we're talking about the one that we've been talking about for 3 days. On this side, we have okay, and on the bottom, this side, we have and on this side, we have So this is the same thing that we've been talking about. Okay, so that means that we still have more to go, because we put in those spaces, and in order to complete our squared, we need some more spaces. So let's talk about the center. The center is one square space. Okay, we just talked about squares. We talked about up here, and remember, it's 4 ones, and the makes up a 1 again. It makes up a 1 because, as I stated, every square, it makes up 1 square. I mean, it's a square. Okay, so that means it's 4 sizes, 4 even sides. So that's a square, a bigger square, but bigger square than the 1 square, than the smaller square that makes up the So we have that's squares, small squares, and it makes up a big square, which is an okay, So we have which makes up an but it's bigger. Okay, so we have that times, because we have which is this which is squares, and then that makes up a big square, okay? And then we have, going to the next side of it, the opposite side of it, we have squared, okay? I mean, which is squares. As you can see, it's going to turn into something. And it makes up a square, which is a bigger square, okay? Then we go down on this side. There's an which is all squares. And then we have an which makes up a bigger square, okay? Then the And then we go to this other one, the last squares. Okay, so we go over this side is squares, and then which is spaces, and it makes up a squared. So we have big squares, which make up squares. Okay. Now we're going to go to the center square, which is an okay. So now you can see a design, okay, because we just completed another one, a single square in the center, okay. So we have the center square, which is an and we have over here, making up a big square. We have an over here, making up a big square. We have a down here, making up a big square. We have a squares, making up a big square. And we have a regular division of what we're talking about in the center, which is an square. Now, now let's say this, going on the top side of the center one, we're going to go up 2. So that's going to be, no, we can't say 2. We're going to go up times, okay? And those are 2 spaces at the top of the center. So we're going to go up okay? And it doesn't make a square, so it's not 1, okay? And then we're going to go to the other side of the center square, which is 2, which is times also. So we got that's another and then we're going to go to the bottom side of the center square, and we have going down. That's going down. Then we have one more side that we have to complete, which is of the center square, and it's times, and it's okay? So we did the whole thing. And we talked about that same division of squared for like 3 days, and you see how the progress is, but it's gonna get so unique that you'll never believe it. I can already see it using the okay? So now we're gonna do something different with this conversation, and we're going, instead of putting spaces in and completing all the squares, we're going to, oh, there's one more thing before I leave the point. Well, I did talk about some of this juice. It's just green juice. It's very good. I didn't eat yet. Thank you. I talked about squares. Now we're gonna just complete this thing about squares. All squares are 1. In the times I'm sorry. In the squared, there is squares, as we already noticed. We did times already. But I just wanted to tell you, since we're talking about space, is that all squares are 1 square. Smaller, like I said, and there's bigger ones, okay? So like in the one that we're talking about, if you go to the left hand side, if you go to, no, we're not going to use the space. If you go to over this side to one of the sides, and we see one of the square spaces, that's a square. Then we have a square, which makes a square. Then we have another which makes another square in that square, which is bigger. And then we have which is also another square, which is also another one. And we also have okay, which is a bigger square, but they're all ones, okay? However, if you do the squared in the squared, that one will complete a square, okay? And you used it up. You used that space, because remember, we're talking about space. So we can't utilize another, what we have left, if we do, we can't do another square. We could do the four, I mean the on that side, but we can't do another full. Let's see if we have another full one, because the okay, that's a square. But then we have so we can do another one. So we have an okay, and then we can do an which will fit also, okay. And what are we left with? Because this is pretty much what we're going to do next. So we would be left with okay, okay. So it's which is one bigger square, and then we can do an which is a bigger square. And what will we have left over? We would have an and a left over. Okay, so we can actually do two bigger squares in the square. And you notice whenever I say you have to perceive of the ahs, okay? And you're going to get very good at it. But if I say a number or a symbol, you're going to remember the number or the symbol, which is not going to help you later on. But the ahs will change into something else. Which brings in what I was going to do next. Now we put in space, we're going to take away space, like we did with the squares. Okay, so the first one I'm going to do is, okay, I'm going to make it easy first. I'm going to, with the space that we're talking about, squared, and we're going to take away this time. I'm going to take away times okay? So that means I'm going to take away that's taken away. And what it's gonna leave us with, it's gonna leave us with taking away, well, let me see if I want to do another one. No, we're going to take away, now we're going to take away times, let me see, times, okay, so that's times so we have we're going to take that away, and that will leave us with okay, I'm almost sure. Yes. And the only thing we have to take away now is and that's it. And we're going to keep that conversation going until we get very good at it. Okay? So, we talked about the spaces. Now we're going to get into, I want to talk about virtual space. Okay. Virtual space. I did the squares. I did everything. The virtual space, okay, is what we were doing the other day when excuse me. I'm going to talk about the virtual space and how it works. And then we're going to try and develop, we have the floor, which is pretty much, I guess we can call it pressure, okay, as far as the realm that we're in. But then we need something for a width. And what we're going to use for the width, okay, am I getting into it now? Okay, we're not going to get into that now. What I wanted to do first was show you about the virtual space. Show you about the virtual space and do the walking, okay? And do the walking inside the square. Okay. Let me see how we're doing on time. Okay. So that's good. So we're going to do the virtual space. What I want to tell you about virtual space is that the space, the mind has its own space, virtual space. That's why I was always able to keep up in front of you. Let me show you. I don't want to get up. Okay, the virtual space. And this is going to be a review of what we already went through, okay? So we started in the center, and, okay, let's get back a little bit. We started in the center, and we went, okay, we have balance point, and we're in the center of the square, okay? So we have balance point, and then we have a balance point, and then a balance point, okay? And that is in the center space, okay? Now that was completed, that function, I want to complete the function because I don't have to. I want to complete the function, and I'm going to I'm completing that function and making another function. Okay, I am in the other cell. Okay, at first I was in the other one. I changed the function to the other cell because there are really no lines. Okay, like I stated that earlier. Hopefully you'll get that. I'm gonna go up again in another cell because I already switched the cells. I already switched the function, and I'm right here, okay? And then I'm gonna do it again, but you know, if I go up from the center, times, I'm at the edge now, okay? Now I'm at the edge. And now I'm gonna explain to you about the virtual space. Not yet, but let me just finish this next. Okay, now I have to turn and I'm staying in the function, I'm staying in the cell, so I'm doing I'm still using this different function, okay, inside this cell, okay, but it's different from the other cells, okay. Okay, so I'm still in the from the center, okay. I'm in that one. Maybe I have to lose a little weight. I don't know. No, I don't think so. I'm staying in the function, okay. Now I'm going to. What I wanted to tell you is that I turned, and I'm still in the same. I'm still in the same cell, but I can go like this, okay, and my virtual space stays the same, but you see something different, okay. As far as my virtual space, okay, I was here, okay. This is the center is over here, and then I went up a space, and this is the space here, okay. So I moved my virtual space in my mind, moved everything so that you can see me forward, okay. I hope you can get that, okay. Now I'm gonna move this function, okay. I can see where I came from, okay. And I'm changing the function, and now I'm in another cell, okay, okay. And I'm at the edge. I moved in that same cell after I changed the function, okay. Okay, now I'm going to turn back, okay, and I'm still in the same function, okay. I'm turning back. Now I'm going to move so that you can see me, but my virtual space stayed the same. That's what I'm trying to say. I moved for you, but my virtual space stayed the same. This is where I was. There was another one here, and there's another one. I started there. So it's I made a turn, and I'm in here. I made a turn, and I came here, and now I made another turn inside that same one, and now I want to end up back where I started from in a different line of spaces. Okay, so I'm going to go. Wait, first change my function, okay, because I'm still in this function that I just turned in. Now I'm going to change the function and go up one again, which puts me in another space, okay, which means it'll be even, I'll be evened up to where I started in the center. I can move back, but my virtual space stays exactly the same, okay? That's what I'm saying, in virtual space. I'm doing this in front camera because I want you to see the front, okay? Okay? So I'm just showing you how the virtual space is. So I'm going to change the function and move up, okay? And here I am in even with the center space. So the center is here where I started, okay? And now I'm here. I went up the even amount. I went up even spaces, and I came back to where the center is, okay? Okay, so I hope you get that. That's about it for that, okay? That one is a pretty big one. I just hope that you can understand that. And the last thing I want to say is that we need, by the time we finish this virtual space, or whatever you want to call it, the squared, by the time we finish squared, we should understand the length, width, and height. I mean, right now we're perceiving something that's like a piece of paper or whatever. But we're going, in order to use, we have space, and our space is not just, space is not just a plane, okay? it's space that we use, okay? So the first thing we're going to do, and we're not going to talk too much about it, is we're going to think about how we fill space with speed, okay? And remember, I went over speed. So this is speed, okay? With the thing that you see when it moves is speed, okay? The thing that you see, let me see, I'm going to use this book again. Okay? So the thing that you see when that speed going up, that speed going down. Speed, okay? That's what you see. That's what we're going to fill with the space. So when we move, we're going to move. See how we move? We're moving with speed, a certain speed, okay? And that's what fills the space. Because remember, as we talked about before, that quadrant, like your quadrant here, okay? Your coordinates here, in order to, they need space. In order to use them, they need space. Otherwise, we can't do this, okay? If there was no space, I was just like this, that means I can't, I mean, what can I do? It's not, you can't be even utilized, but it's utilized because we have space, okay? But we have to conceive of space not as something perceived like flat, but we have to look at it as something that's, I guess, the weight, I mean, height, I mean, how can I say? Height, width, or, you know, that's something too that I don't agree with, because height, width, length, height, and width, okay? Length, height, and width are the same thing, okay? Length, height, and width. The only thing you have to say, we're gonna talk about that, but they're pretty much the same thing, okay? It's just like a lot of things that we talked about. It's a combination of things. Usually when you're kind of confused about something, it's because things are merged together. Things connect to each other. But that's it for now. Thank you so much. It's a pretty good time. And look forward to the next one. I guess this one is D or E. And then I'm going to go to the next one. Thank you very much. Have a good time. Bye. I hope you're hanging in there. Remember, this is 3 years.